Good. Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to chair this evening's meeting, and I'm very pleased to welcome the 5 candidates who we have here with us this evening. The format of the evening is that each of the candidates will have the opportunity to introduce themselves and the basis on which they're standing for this seat. After that, we will open the floor to questions. You have been invited to submit questions in writing, and they have been or are being collected and sorted with the aim of making sure that the coverage is of a wide variety of issues, and the questions will be addressed to the candidates at that point. Please could I urge you to make questions brief. This is an opportunity for us to hear from the candidates and not for members of the audience to make speeches, so please brief questions for the candidates. And I do retain the prerogative, in the interests of a smoothly run evening, to move the conversation on to a new topic should that become necessary. So we've agreed an order in which the 5 candidates will give their introductory 2 minutes, and it's been done by a very sophisticated method of basically drawing lots. So, without further ado, I call on Richard Mollet of the Labour Party to introduce himself to us.
Thank you, Anne, and could I start by saying how great it is to see so many people here for this hustings, and really shows that interest in politics and this election is clearly alive and kicking. Now, as somebody who lives with a young family in Chiddingfold and has been the Labour candidate in this area for 2 years, I know how important public services are to people in South West Surrey, and that's why I believe a Labour government is important for us too. Labour has the strongest record of all parties in creating and reforming public services. We did it 60 years ago with the NHS, we did it 10 years ago with the creation of Sure Start, and we're going to do it again with the National Care Service in the next Parliament. But those strong public services need a strong economy. Now, Britain is now emerging out of the global recession, but it is only doing so because of the policies Gordon Brown took in investing in the country, stabilising the financial system, and bringing failing banks into the public sector. Some of these measures were opposed by the opposition, but they have worked, they've been copied in other countries, and we are now emerging. But as the employment figures out today show, that recovery is still incredibly fragile. And it would be wrong nationally and for the businesses in this area if £6 billion were taken out of the economy this year. Now, while I've been campaigning over the last 2 years, one issue above all has stuck out for me, which is the Dunsfold Park development, which would have brought 900 affordable homes into this borough, which has a waiting list of over 3,000. Now, that development was blocked, unfortunately, by the Conservative Council. And to me, that speaks, to a wider point. There's a lot of talk in this election that we need to break up the old two-party duopoly, and I fully agree with that. But the 2 parties I want to break up are the Liberal and the Conservative Party in this borough, because I think for too long, too many voices of ordinary families, mainstream people, have gone ignored. So that's why I'm standing here, to put a marker in the ground for those voices. And nationally, Labour is campaigning on the theme of a fair future for all. And what I think that means for people in South West Surrey, be they children, or parents, businesses, or workers, or pensioners, is a future of strong public services and a strong economy. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to taking your questions later on.
Now, Jeremy Hunt of the Conservative Party and our sitting Member of Parliament to address the meeting.
Thank you very much, Anne. Actually, I was the sitting Member of Parliament until Parliament dissolved, and I'm a candidate like everyone else. First thing I want to do is to thank Alistair Foreman and the Vineyard for letting us use this brilliantly refurbished church house, which I think they've done a fantastic job for. As everyone here knows, I have had the honour of representing South West Surrey for the last 5 years as your Member of Parliament, and I think that has been the biggest privilege of my life. I should probably say the second biggest privilege, because my wife is sitting in the audience here, and marrying her was the #1 thing, and my family will always come first. Just to give you a little bit of information about my background, my father's from Godalming. I grew up in a village called Shear, which is just the other side of Godalming. My brother lives in Hazelmere, so this is really the area that I'm from. I have, as an MP, divided my time between London and Farnham. My Farnham home is in Red Lion Lane, just a stone's throw away from here. And I went to school at Charterhouse in Godalming, and I know the area well. I went to primary school in Shear. And I think that, for me, one of the most abiding memories of my childhood was the realisation of the incredible privilege of a private education and the advantage that gave me right at the very start of my life. And in a way, a sense of shame that what happens in this country is that those opportunities, your life chances are decided so early on. And so for me, one of the values that has driven me going into politics is to want to create a society that creates opportunities for everyone, no matter what their background is. And I look at our country, and I am so proud of our country at its best, but I also feel a sense of despair that we've today discovered that unemployment has gone up to 2.5 million. There are 8 million adults of working age in this country who aren't working. So many lives being wasted, and I think it is possible to have a better future, and part of that has to be to reform the way that we do politics, and I think that we need much greater accountability between MPs and the people who give them their jobs, and I'm sure we'll talk about that this evening. One final thing, I'm passionate about this area. I have been very involved in numerous local campaigns, along with Anne Milton. I led the campaign to save the Royal Surrey from closure, which we were successful, but it wasn't just us. We had huge support from all parties and across the whole community. And Farnham in particular, I think, could be one of the most beautiful, wonderful towns in the southeast. But I think we suffer from the curse of traffic here. And I think one thing that we could really do that would transform Farnham would be to find a way to make the centre of Farnham a nicer place for pedestrians and for families, and that's a project that I've been working on recently. So thank you for listening to me, thank you for giving me the privilege to represent you. Whichever party you vote for, whichever party you have voted for, if you elect me, I will represent the whole community, and I hope my record demonstrates that that's what I've done in the last 5 years.